Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to talk about what does it mean to have good enough writing in a dissertation process. I am just still getting myself set up here. If you're watching a replay, let me know with hashtag replay. And you just might want to just skip forward like 20, 30 seconds. And I'm just letting people come in. Um, for free. Okay. So today, I want to talk about what is good enough writing. I want you to think about your process. I want you to think about how you've been showing up to the dissertation. I want you to think about how do you know? Here's a question. How do you know when your writing is ready to be submitted to your chair, your advisor, your committee, whomever is making the decisions? I really want you to go to the moment where you are sitting in front of your computer, your laptop, whatever you're using to write. And I want you to really answer your question. I would be happy if you answer in the chat, but I at least want you to answer for yourself. How do you know when your writing is good enough to submit for somebody to look at it? Most people will tell me, well, how I know it's good enough is because I'll feel it. I'll read over it and I'll know. But that means how successful you are in the dissertation process hinges on how you feel. And I just want you to think about how do you feel on a regular basis when you're showing up to the dissertation process? Do you feel prepared? Do you feel confident? Do you feel like you know what you're talking about? Do you feel like, oh yeah, they're definitely going to approve this? Or are you mostly feeling a lot of anxiety and stress and you're doing a lot of procrastinating because you're worried about you're going to be found out in some way, or maybe you misinterpreted the literature, or maybe you're going to do all of this work and turn it into your chair and they're still going to tell you it's not good enough? I'm making this distinction because you think that you're depending, the proverbial you, right? Like you think you're dependent on a feeling to know that the writing is ready. But I am trying to demonstrate to you that your emotions in this process are constantly up and down. And then while they are completely valid, they're not based on fact. You are telling yourself a story that is based on fact, but I am telling you that it's not. So I want you to know where I'm coming from because I'm not coming here to be like, oh, let me poo poo on you. I am, first of all, I did not introduce myself. I am Dr. Marvette Lacey. I have, for the past 9 years, been working with thousands of doctoral students to adopt a 10-hour writing routine so that they can finish their dissertations in 12 months or less. And when I was going through my process and my entire doctoral program down to the first semester, if you were here last week, you heard me tell my story about how I was on academic probation my first year, first semester. I wish I could tell you that the rest of my program experience got easier. It didn't. I was a student who most of the faculty would not talk to. I had, once I switched to a new advisor, I at least had a more supportive relationship, but we don't keep it all the way real in this conversation. There was a lot of times where she wasn't quite sure if I was going to make it. I even had a cohort. I was in a cohort-based program. I tried to work with them. I tried to be in groups, and it just didn't work out. And so I walked around a lot of my doctoral experience filled with such immense shame and imposter syndrome because in my brain, I was like, I am the common denominator here. Clearly, there is something wrong with me as to why I'm not fitting into this program. I'm not having the type of academic success that I'm used to having in my scholastic experience, that it must be that I'm not working hard enough. I'm not trying hard enough. And that went on throughout the entire process leading up to the dissertation. And many of you have heard me share the story where there was a whole year essentially where I should have been working on my proposal, but I was so burnt out, so disenchanted, so lost that I could not even get myself to write anything. But I kept telling myself the story that I don't know enough, that I need to read more, that my writing isn't good enough, because if it was, maybe people would treat me better or people would believe in me more. And where I had to get to, and the reason why I'm telling you this, because I want you to know where this fire is about to come from on today. I had to get to the point where I had to see the system for what it was, number one, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna explain. And number two, I had to learn how to trust myself. Many of you are telling yourself this story that your writing isn't good enough because, simply put, you don't trust yourself. But I'm not about to leave. I'm not going to just leave it there and some woo woo stuff. But I want you to know what the punchline is. You don't trust that the past 10, 20 years of your educational journey was enough to prepare you for this moment. I was having a session, I was coaching someone this morning, and she was telling me about, computer had a virus, life was lifing, and it was all these reasons as to why she wasn't making the progress she wanted to make. And her brain was like, I just want to be done. And I talked to so many students who are like, I just want to graduate. And when I'm explaining to them, here's what you have to do, here's the step-by-step process you need to do to graduate, and I show them that you are already doing this process, you just need to learn some patience, because this is a time intensive thing, a dissertation. You need to be patient and trust that once you do the work and you allow yourself to keep going, meaning you write a shitty draft, you turn in that draft to get reviewed by your advisor or whomever, you review their feedback and you incorporate that feedback, and you be willing to go through that process as many times that it's required to get to graduation. That is how you get done and how you graduate. That takes time, though. It takes time for you to write. It takes time for them to review it and get it back to you. It takes time for you to review the feedback and incorporate it and keep going. The reason why you're not making the progress you want to make, or you're not at graduation yet, is because you keep arguing with the facts of the process. You keep wanting certainty before you do the work. Meaning, you want your advisor, your chair, to come to you and be like, you know what? I just believe in you so much, and you are so amazing. You're waiting on a conversation like that before you will go all in on a dissertation. And you think that you desperately, like the student this morning, you desperately just want to get to graduation. And what I told her, which is what I'm going to tell you, if you really wanted to graduate, if you wanted to graduate in May, you could. You know everything you need to. You passed the classes, you did your exams, you have probably rewritten your literature review 50 million times. You know exactly what to do. You keep telling yourself this story that you're just not being disciplined or you're not doing work hard enough. And I want to tell you that the truth is, you want the very system that you're most likely critiquing in your research to come to you and make you the exception. Let me back and I want to be very detailed, because I feel like this is going to be a live that people come back to. Many of you, especially if you're in my world, you're doing research where you are critiquing oppressive systems. Put a 1 in the chat if your research is around critiquing any oppressive system. If you're doing work that is critiquing patriarchy, sexism, racism, right? You're using those really nice theories like critical race theory. Put a 1 in the chat if that reflects any part of your research. Hi, Dr. Alusu. So your focus, you're like, all in the literature, and you're writing out these whole manifestos about how you want to change the system for the better. But the thing that gets me is you never sat back and really thought about, you're already in an oppressive system in higher education, that the faculty, the staff in your program is operating in the system. You yourself agreed to participate actively in the system that is oppressing you. We're all doing that, but I need to make this very plain. And by you doing that, you have agreed to follow the rules of the system. But there is somewhere that happens with students that they think it only applies to the research, and they don't think about, no, the very people that I am looking up to, the very people whose validation I want the most, the very people who I want to say, you're doing such a great job, won't do that because they're operating in the system. That means you want somebody to tell you, you're doing a great job of critiquing us. You're doing such a great job of saying how we're not supportive, whatever your work is, right? I'm doing this in very general terms. If you want to tell me your topic, I can make it more applicable to you. But you want the very people who have also decided to participate in the system to tell you that it's wrong, to tell you that their decision that they made to be a part of the system is wrong. How I know that is because you keep going to your chair and you keep giving them all of your brilliant ideas, and then you keep waiting on them to tell you, yeah, choose this one. Yeah, you're on the right track. You are telling yourself that it's just as simple as I could keep going. I would have the motivation if they would just tell me I'm on the right track. And what I'm trying to tell you is, why would they do that? Is what, brother, I'm asking you. Why would they do that? This conversation is gonna go over somebody's head, and I hope that it hits you on the way home. I'm not trying to be rude or say that you can't understand it. I'm saying that you won't allow yourself to understand it. Where I had to get to after a year of daily panic attacks, of trying to work hard enough. I was a part of like 4 or 5 research teams. I had published several things before I even got to my dissertation. I knew qualitative research in and out, and I was still like, what is the issue? And it was because I had to be honest with myself. Girl, you want this very system of people to say, yay, go you, when you keep upstaging them. And this is not about me. I'm using me as an example. But what I had to say to myself is like, I did everything that was required. I have already demonstrated that I understand research. I know how to create an argument. I know how to articulate that argument. I know how to defend it way before I got to the dissertation, which is what the dissertation is supposed to teach you. And people couldn't figure out how I was doing that by myself when I didn't have support. I am saying this because I want you to think about your process. I want you to think about your experience in a doctoral program. I have yet to really talk to a student who has yet to demonstrate that they don't have what it takes to be a doctor. You have been sitting there with your topic. You have read the literature endlessly. You're not done with the dissertation, not because you don't know what you're doing. It's because you won't just put words on a page and turn it in and get the feedback. And the reason why you won't turn it in is because you keep entertaining a conversation of, but what if that's not right? Or what if they come back with an edit? Or what if I do all this work and I turn it in and they tell me to rewrite it? Yeah, what if they do that? What does that mean? You're making it mean that if they do that, then you failed. You're making it mean that if somebody came back with some feedback, that means you don't know what you're doing. The person earlier was like, well, I don't want them to give me the feedback and then I have to spend time fixing it. But that's writing. Writing is a series of process of I write something, I turn it into somebody, they read it, they tell me what they think and what I should change. I decide if I want to incorporate that, and you do that over and over. A rule that I have for my dissertation clients in the Finish Your Dissertation Institute is that I tell them you just need to make peace with every section, every chapter, and the entire dissertation that you're going to have to rewrite it 5 times. Why? Because that's writing. But I'm making this distinction here because that doesn't have anything to do with your progress. You could do it 5 times and still be done by May, but you're not going to let yourself do that because you don't trust that what you know is good enough. You don't trust that what you have to say, how you understand the literature, makes sense or is good enough. You are constantly looking and scanning for ways for people to call you out and poke holes in what you have to say and how you think, that you never sat back to think, what if I already know what I'm doing? What if what I have to say is such a unique position that the reason why I'm getting so much pushback is because I'm challenging people's ways of thinking, of what they believe to be true, not because I don't know enough. Put a 1 in the chat if you're following me, because I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Put a 1 if I'm not asking if you agree. I'm asking if you're following along with what I'm saying. You spend agonizing hours in front of your laptop looking at that one sentence you wrote and going over and over it like, is that the right words? Should I say it this way? But what is that committee member over there going to say if I put this? Should I use this citation or should I use this citation? It's not because you don't know how to write. It's because you don't trust how you're thinking about it. So the question I asked at the top of this live is, how do you know if your writing is good enough to be able to submit it for feedback? If you're waiting on a feeling for it to click, for it to feel like it's good enough, you're going to be waiting for a very long time and you will not finish. Not because you didn't do the reading, not because you didn't show up and do the writing and show up on a consistent basis. It's going to all come down to because you keep going back and forth about, can I really trust myself? You're making up a bunch of things that you think people are going to say to you or say about you, and you're taking that as fact and using it as justification as to why you can't keep going. Because if you really wanted to graduate, you know what you would do? Like you did every other class assignment. You would put some words on a page and be like, you know what? It isn't exactly what I wanted to say, but it's something. I'm going to turn it in and get the grade. And because you're being so precious about your dissertation is why you're stuck in place. People can give you, I could give you endless writing plans with endless deadlines, but it will not make a difference if you have a deep belief that what you have to say doesn't matter, doesn't make sense, isn't true. You will constantly go back and forth. Like I've had clients who got into the proposal defense. Committee is like, this is beautiful, this is wonderful. And they're still like, I can't trust them. I don't believe them. And they go back and forth. And you might be saying to yourself, couldn't be me, would never be me, but it is you. Especially if you are in the dissertation phase, my question then is, why is it not done? What are you saying is holding you back? Are you saying it's time? It can't be time, because if I go look at all the articles you read 50, 11 of them. You got the time, you did the work. If you say, well, no, but for real, my life is really busy, I have a lot going on. If I go and look at your screen time, how much you spend on your phone, that's your time to write right there. So you have the time. Then you might be like, but I really don't know what I'm doing. That's what the person was saying to me this morning, but I really don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, but how many times have you written parts of this proposal? Many of the students I work with have rewritten their proposals 4 or 5 times with 4 or 5 different topics. So we know then, you know what you're doing. The only thing that's left on the table is you don't believe that what you have to say is good enough. It's not about your writing. It's about what you believe about you. And I get it. The way we're socialized in our formal education system is that we show up to a class, we get a syllabus, and that syllabus, it tells us exactly what to read, how many pages to read. It tells us what the assignments are, exactly how to complete the assignments, if it's a good syllabus, right? And so you're used to showing up and somebody handing you a stack of papers that is clear instructions, and you go off and you execute on those instructions. Sometimes you do it amazingly. Sometimes you're like, I don't know, but you follow it, you submit it, you pass the class, and you move on to the next class. But now you're in this dissertation process and no one handed you a syllabus. And you think because no one gave you clear instructions that means you don't know what you're doing. But you haven't sat back and really thought about, this is the reason why there are no instructions. I've learned everything I needed. I got the basics. And at a minimum, if you don't know the exact answer, you know how to find the answer. You know how to look up literature. You know how to talk to other people. You know how to look at writing and make something with it. But because you don't have the set of instructions, you feel like you can't trust yourself. And because for many of you, this is your first time where you had to create something that did not exist before, you're feeling uncomfortable. Hear my words. You're feeling some discomfort because probably for the first time, you're creating something out of nothing in the way of academic research and literature. And because you probably, as someone, me, the reason why a lot of faculty weren't talking to me, they told me every time they could how I was such a horrible writer, how they made a mistake, how they wasn't sure I was going to make it. But here's the thing, if I would have just listened to them, I wouldn't be a doctor. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't have helped hundreds of people become doctor. That is all like smoke and mirrors. And I'm asking you to consider, what if the same is true for you? If you want good enough writing, here's the good enough writing part. You need to make a clear argument. You need to say, this is what I believe, and this is how I got to this conclusion. That is what good enough writing is. And put it on the paper and let somebody help you wordsmith it and get it organized. That's good enough writing. But that's not going to be good enough for you to sit down and put the words on a page because you don't trust yourself. You don't trust that there's a reason why you made it this far. You're so busy trying to list the reasons as to why you're not going to make it and trying to solve for that you haven't considered that maybe you've already blew everybody's expectations out of the water. that maybe like what you do on a regular basis runs circles around every one of your program. Have you ever considered that? Have you ever considered that you outgrown your doctoral program? Now, here's the part that I really want to talk about that you probably don't really have to sit with. I don't think for most people that they are really hung up on their writing being good enough or if they have what it takes. I believe that most people, like I was, realize that as you get to the dissertation and you start to work on your proposal, you really start to see the truth of what the doctoral program is. Many people, here's the thing, when I first work with someone, I'm like, why do you want to be a doctor? So if you're listening to this, please let me know. Give me your reason. I want a good one, a juicy one. Why do you want to be doctor? Let me know in the chat. Why do you want to be doctor? You want somebody to call you doctor? You want to stun on some people? Is it about a job? What is it about? Tell me why you want to be a doctor. The client this morning was like, well, I want to be a doctor because I want to teach and I want to present my research. And the hard truth of this is, but you're already doing that, is what I told her. And whatever reason you're about to put in here, I'm about to tell you, you're already doing it. What I told her this morning is you're already teaching. You're already researching. You're already presenting at conferences. So why do you want this degree? You might be like, well, I came too far. I'm finishing. But is that a good enough reason? You have a nervous system that is the oldest part of you. And your nervous system number one goal is to survive. How your nervous system survives is that it avoids pain, it avoids any task that's going to take significant energy, and it only likes to seek out pleasure. So that's why when you want to, this is a perfect time in January, you want to start a new workout routine or you want to start waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's why it's so hard, because your nervous system is like, but why? Why am I going to miss out on sleep and that'd be so painful just for you to wake up at 5 o'clock? And if you don't have a deep, strong enough why or multiple whys that are true for you, emotionally true, hear my words, that are emotionally true for you, you won't do the thing. You won't face the pain to get to the goal. What this means in the doctoral process, you may have had one reason why you wanted to be doctor when you enrolled. But now that you're at this point in the journey, your nervous system is like, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. You're not doing this for a dream job. You're not doing this because you want people to call you doctor. You're not doing this because you want to present at conferences, because you're doing it already, or you have the opportunity to do it already. So your nervous system is like, so why are we putting ourselves through this torture of writing a dissertation? And because you're so busy like worrying about your imposter syndrome and being found out, you haven't really sat down and re-looked at your why. Why do you want to be a doctor? Why is it worth going through all this pain? What do you think that you're going to get at graduation that you don't have now? The more you answer that question, the faster you get to graduation. The more you refuse to answer that question, the more you're going to stay stuck in place. And I've had many of people tell me what I'm saying is bullshit or like that doesn't matter. They just want to get finished. And I look at them a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, still stuck in the same place because they're not listening. Listen, I don't care if you listen or not. Because what do the people say? I got my PhD. You're trying to be doctor. And I mean that with all the love in my heart, as shitty as that sounds. But what I'm telling you is it doesn't matter how much you sit in front of your computer. It doesn't matter how many articles you read. If you don't trust yourself because you don't have a good enough reason to do this, none of it matters. Why is this worth going through the process? What is it that you're looking for? Many of you are going to have to sit with the fact, with the bitter truth of what you're really looking for is the recognition and the validation that you didn't get when you were small. And you can go talk to your therapist about that. You're looking to the faculty to see you, for somebody to finally see you and say, you're so great. You're amazing. Yeah, we believe in you. And in an ideal world, that would happen. But like I said at the top of this, it's an oppressive system where you're probably not even supposed to be in. It wasn't originally designed for you. And here you are, but you're like, rah, rah, go get them. We could have justice and equity and equality. Things that sound very idealistic. And you want to do this amazing research that is desperately needed. Don't get me twisted. But you think the very people who have already agreed to be a part of the system are going to be like, yes. And so, in order for you to go and do research in that way, that means it requires even more self trust. Because if you really want to go against oppression, you have to be willing to stand there 10 toes down by yourself. But another conversation we need to have is that one person can go against the system, but that's another conversation for another day. My point is, you want to do this beautiful research, but you don't even believe in what you're saying. You don't believe that you can even trust yourself and how you're putting things together and how you understand the system. And if you can't believe that, how are you supposed to write about it? How are you supposed to articulate it? How are you supposed to defend it at a defense when you don't even believe in yourself? You don't believe what you're saying. Let me know any questions that you have. Even if you're like, girl, what you're saying is some BS. I just want to hear what you have to say. I'm going to check on YouTube, Instagram. I want to hear. Okay, I'm 15 minutes behind you because I'm catching up on what I missed. However, you are so right. I'm going through imposter syndrome. I don't trust that I actually understand enough data to feel scholarly in my field. How do you know if somebody knows what they're doing? Whether you are at a conference, whether you're in your class, how do you know that your faculty, that your committee knows what they're doing? Because they're a doctor, because they're serving on your committee? How do you know? How do you know you can trust them? How do you know that they know what they're doing? Just because they published it, what does that mean? They went through the publishing process. They did what I just told you to do. They submitted a shitty draft and somebody gave them some feedback called an R&R. They responded to that feedback and they submitted it and it got published. But we don't know how extensive that feedback was because I have served on boards that review submissions for publications. And let me tell y'all, it's a sad, sad world out there. Okay. Because if you knew the type of writing that was being submitted, you would stop sitting over there being imposter syndrome about your writing. I lost my train of thought, but I'm going to come back. Oh, how do you know that people know what they're doing? Many of you will go get committee members who maybe they created the theoretical framework you're using, or maybe they do similar research, and you think, well, this is their field, so of course they should know. And more times than not, what I find is that the actual student sees the research in a completely different way. There's a reason why you were drawn to your topic. You see it in a different way. I don't care if you're working with the original person. Like if you're focused on intersectionality and Kimberly Crenshaw was on your committee, I do not care. Y'all don't see it the same way. Y'all are coming from different backgrounds, different lived experiences. You do not see it in the same way. Even if 80% of it is similar, there's still a 20% difference in how you see it. And that 20% is going to make your research what it is. But in order for people to see that 20%, to understand it, to be able to apply it in their work, you have to be the one who articulates it. You have to be the one in your writing to explain, how do you see the world? Why do you see the world that way? And what should we do with that? If you are afraid of doing that, we will never know. It will never be in your dissertation. There won't be any publications. And it's all going to come down, not because you don't know what you want to say. You do know what you want to say. You just don't trust yourself and you don't believe that it's good enough. But you never question, what standards are you trying to live up to? How do you know when something is good enough? If it only depends on an outside person telling you it's good enough, how are you supposed to make it a career as a doctor, as an expert, if all you're doing is being dependent on other people's praise of you? That's something you need to work on. You need to do some work with either therapy or like some group or some, maybe a coach who specializes in that. You don't trust yourself because you don't have the internal or the external support to say, yep, my ideas are great. And listen, I've been through so much trauma. It's not like I grew up in a life where everybody tells me, you're going to do great. In fact, it was the actual opposite. I've been told my entire life, everything I'm doing is too big. It will never work. I don't know what I'm doing. And yet I've done everything I wanted to do because there was always some part of me that's like, while I am drowning in imposter syndrome, there's still a small part of me that knows I'm right and who believes in me. And that kept me going. So that whole year where I could not write my proposal was me getting caught up in other people's words and projections on me. And finally I got to a point where I was like, it don't matter. And I'm trying so hard not to cuss on this Good Sunday. But I had to get to a point where it's like, it doesn't matter. I believe in me. And because I believe in me, I'm going to write this proposal. I wrote the proposal in 4 weeks. It's 3 chapters. It was at least 60, 70 pages in 4 weeks. It was ready to defend. My dissertation, when I like, after I passed the proposal, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to take a long break. And my chair was like, actually, no, in 2 months, you need to give me a full dissertation. I said, girl, I just finished a proposal. What do you mean? I don't even have an IRB. What are you talking about? But 2 months later, she had a full dissertation. It's not because I know some secret that you don't know. It's not because I was like filled to the brim with motivation. No, I made a decision that even though this timeline is ridiculous as fuck, I believe in me enough to be like, she gonna get something. Now it may not be what she want, but it's gonna articulate my view of seeing qualitative research in this study, and I'm gonna turn it in. The worst she gonna tell me is no. And I'm willing to hear the no. I'm willing. It was after I like got over the initial shock of 2 months, I was like, this could be fun. Let's treat it like a game. Why? Because I was no longer dependent on what the faculty thought of me. I was like, they don't even like me anyway, so it doesn't even matter. I'm not trying to do it for their approval. Not even trying to do it for the approval of my chair. I'm just trying to get done to graduation because I want to finish what I started. And because I was listening to myself and said, I just want to finish what I start, I just put words on the page. I just went through the steps. I was willing to get the feedback and apply the feedback and keep going. 2 months later, I was defending my dissertation. You could too. You could be done by May when you make the decision that doesn't matter what other people are going to say. I'm just going to put words on a page. I'm going to let them do their job and let them give me feedback. I'm going to see if I want to incorporate that feedback. And if for the feedback I don't want to incorporate, I'm going to tell them why. And I'm going to keep going through this process until I'm at the defense and they're saying, congratulations, doctor. But because you haven't made a decision, you're sitting here, but you're calling it procrastination, or that I don't know enough, or that I don't have enough time, or I'm just tired. And all of those things may very well be true. They're symptoms. They're not the real thing. The real thing is you haven't made a decision because you don't trust yourself. I accomplished so much in my life. The more educated I get, the harder life has gotten. Because the more you know, the more of the truth you see. Many people right now have this very grand delusion about higher education, about how it's supposed to be supportive and that the people are there for you. But I'm always fascinated by, like, if you are critiquing systems in your research, why can't you critique your program? It too is a system. It's a part of the system, the oppressive system of higher education. Why are you not critiquing that? Here's what I mean by that. Why do you think it's something wrong that you're doing instead of the system of higher education? It wasn't designed for you. People don't think you're going to make it. They're happy to take your tuition dollars because it keeps the doors open. But why can't you accept that it's the system, that it's not personal? Because the more that you can make it less personal, the more that you would put words on a page and turn them in and get done like you did every class assignment. In order for you to get there, you got to know why you're doing this. An example I use often is if Beyonce said she was coming to pick you up to take you to Texas with her, but you had to finish your dissertation, most of you would be done. You wouldn't even care what was in the dissertation. You'd be like, listen, girl, I don't even care. I turned it in. I'm ready to go with you. If Beyonce is not your favorite person, whoever your favorite celebrity is, put their name in. It's how I know that this isn't about you don't know what you're doing. You're just spending more time questioning if what you're doing is the right thing to do. But the only way to know if it's quote unquote the right thing to do is to go through the steps, meaning you're going to have to submit your writing and let your committee review it and tell you what their preferences and opinions are. And you decide how much of that you want to incorporate and be willing to go back and forth as many times as it takes, which is, it's not going to take as much as you think to get to graduation. But instead, you're sitting there at your kitchen table, your office table, the coffee shop, wherever you write, and you're thinking about all the things that they can say wrong about your writing, all the things that all the ways they can punch holes in your argument. And you're trying to plan for some fictional future where you fail instead of planning for the future where you succeed because you know what you're doing. You're so busy trying to not to make a mistake that is the mistake because it's keeping you stuck in place. You're not making the progress. When if you just treated this like you treated every other writing assignment, you would be a doctor already. It really is that simple. But you don't have a reason why. Your nervous system hasn't gotten an answer that's like, oh, okay, this makes it worth it to do that. It's not because of your dream job. It's not because, like, if it's just in general, because I just want to be a doctor, but why? What do you want to do with it? What do you think is going to happen after you are a doctor? That's what I'm looking for in terms of your why. Thank you for the advice. Good point about not knowing what others are submitting. Never thought about that. Ooh, because if you really saw what the people were submitting, if you really was like, I don't know, if you ever get stuck and you want to do this for funsies, go look at dissertations from your program. Go look at what other people have submitted. Many of you gonna walk away real pissed when you see how simple, how basic their dissertations are. Now, I can hear some of y'all who are like, but I'm not gonna put out piss poor work. I care about the quality of the work that I put out. So we need to stop telling ourselves then that you just want to graduate, that you just want to be done. If you find yourself just saying, I just want to be done, but then in the next breath you say, but I care about the quality of the work that I'm doing, you got to reassess what your priority is. I'm not sitting here telling you to turn in shitty work. I'm not telling you that. I like shitty paragraphs. I like shitty first drafts, but they're a first draft. I'm not telling you to submit something you're not proud of. I'm asking you to interrogate, how do you know when work is at a level when you can be proud of it? How do you know when your work is good enough? Because you get an A? Well, there's no A's in dissertations. You don't get a grade. Is it because your chair is like, you're doing such a great job? They're probably not going to say that until your final defense. So what do you do in the in-between time? What do you do? How do you know when it's good enough? You know it's good enough because you say, listen, this is what I have to say. I'm going to put it down. I'm going to let somebody else look at it. When they tell me how they understand what I wrote, when they tell me their reaction to how I wrote, I will use that as data to interpret against my own understanding is if my writing is good enough or is it what I'm trying to say. I'm not using their words as confirmation. I'm using their words as data to say against my own standards, do I think I'm on track to submitting the quality of work that I want to submit? Do you have standards? Do you have a clear, measurable process for you to know that your writing is good enough? Or does it only depend on the opinion of your chair and your committee? You have to be the one to make that decision. Because if you don't, you're just going to stay in place. Good enough writing comes from being willing to write a full draft and knowing that you're going to write multiple, but writing a full draft, letting someone see it, using their feedback as data to interpret what my next step should be or what your next step should be. But you have to be willing to trust yourself to do that. When I say trust yourself, meaning as you're sitting there in front of your computer and you're looking at your writing and you're like, I don't know. Listen, here's what it sounds like that you trust yourself. I'm not all the way sure this is the final version, but most of this is good. I like where I'm going. I like the argument that I'm making. I like the literature I'm using. I like how I framed this. Yeah, it's good enough. Let me turn it in to somebody for them to give me feedback. That's what it sounds like to trust yourself. How you know you don't trust yourself? You're sitting there being like, but this doesn't make sense, or I don't know how to say, like, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it the way I wanted to say it. And then you put some words on a page, and you're like, but they don't sound scholarly enough, or I don't know if that's right, or let me go read. And so you spend all this time reading because you think, well, if I read more, then I'll know exactly what I want to say and how to say it. But you've been reading for months, some of you for years, and you still are no closer to knowing what you want to say or how you want to say it. Because reading's not going to fix it. Meeting with your chair endless times, telling them all your grand ideas is not going to fix it. The only thing that's going to fix it is you sitting down, putting words on a page, having this internal dialogue with yourself of like, oh, I like this, or this part right here. Oh, I could connect it this way to this way. And you keep writing, trusting that at the end of this, after you've written the shitty part and you've edited and you've rearranged it for yourself and you got it to good enough, then you would turn it in to somebody to give you some more data. You wouldn't hoard your writing. You wouldn't say, oh, let me just check one more thing. Oh, let me just read some more. Let me just keep writing this outline. The outline is not the document. Reading is not writing. You have to submit your writing. The students who get done the fastest are willing to write what they think are shitty drafts, turn them in for review, get the feedback, apply it, repeat. You sitting there having endless conversations with yourself won't matter. You're not the committee. You're not the one who needs to sign the paperwork, but you are the one who sets the tone. Next week, I'm going to talk more about like this power dynamic, but here's the thing I want you to know. You set the tone. Your committee takes their lead from you. And if they are telling you something like your topic is too big, your timeline is too aggressive, they are using their own personal experience to judge what you can do. But nobody knows you like you know you. And you know what you're capable of. You know what all you sacrificed to get here. You know all the silent battles you had to fight to get here. They don't know that, but you do. And I'm confused as to why you're not looking at that as proof, as more than enough evidence that says not only do you belong in this doctoral program, but you are way bigger than it. That you have you've outgrown it, and that all you need to do is go through the motions, put the words on a page and turn it in because you have already demonstrated that you are an expert, that you know what you're doing. Many people who are around you, they are so impressed by you. They can't understand how it is that you're still going. They can't understand how you haven't given up and you're still here. But you are stuck in all the reasons that you keep allowing yourself to focus on as to why you don't deserve to be here, that you somehow must have cheated the system and that's how you got to this part. You didn't cheat anything. You earned it. You are the one who showed up to the classes. You are the one who stayed up and put words on a page and turned in assignment after assignment. You are the one who applied to the program. You are the one who raised your hand and said, I wanted to do this study. You did the work. You have the evidence. You belong here. That's not the question on the table. The question on the table is also not if you will get to graduation. You will. The question is, but why do you want to? Why do you want to continue to go through this process? Why do you want to continue to be around these people? Why do you want to continue to operate in this oppressive system? What is the reason? I'm trying not to go. My ADHD is kicking in. It's like, what is the reason? But for real, what is the reason? Why are you doing all of this? Because your nervous system knows something that you haven't logically, consciously caught up to. That everything that you initially set out to do, or the reasons why you enrolled initially into the program, you've already achieved them. It just doesn't look the way you thought it was going to look. It doesn't feel the way you thought it was going to feel. And you keep thinking that if I just keep pushing myself and I keep trying to give them what they want, that I'll feel it. And I'm asking you to sit and consider, what if that is not coming? Because that's not what this is. It's not some magical, I don't know, prize. Like, you're not going to be on the graduation stage and finally just be filled with so much confidence. If you have this type of relationship with your chair, I would ask you to go talk to them and ask them, when did you start to feel confident that you were a doctor? Ask them this question, or ask anyone that you know who is previously going through a program or who's already doctor. Just ask them, how long did it take you to feel confident like you are a doctor? Because you're going to be really surprised by the answers. It wasn't at graduation. Probably wasn't even a year after. It probably wasn't until like 3 or 4 years afterwards. Like, I want you to talk to somebody who's going to tell you the truth, not somebody who's going to lie to you. You're not going to get on the stage and instantly be like, yep, I belong. I deserve every good thing that's coming my way. Nope. You're going to realize, which is what your nervous system has already realized. Nope, this system, this program doesn't make or break me. It is another thing I can do. It's just, why would I do it? The reason why you finished high school is because you knew you wanted to go to college. The reason why you finished your undergrad is because probably you knew you were going to get a graduate degree. But now you're in this doctoral process and you don't know what the next step is. You don't know your why. And because you don't have one that's strong, it's why you're stuck. because your nervous system knows that, like, why would I give up something I already am familiar with? I'm already familiar with the discomfort of saying I don't know what to write and having writer's block and imposter syndrome. I already know how the people are going to be in this program. That one girl who get on my nerves because she's always talking. I already know this. I don't know what's next. So I'm not going to give up something that's already clear and certain for something that's uncertain because you haven't made a decision about why you're doing this and what's next. This might be really different than what you heard before, but I'm not about to sit up here and lie to you and be like, okay, let's talk about writing. I mean, we can, but what's really going to help you is you having this internal compass of knowing who you are, whose you are, where you come from, all the evidence you have built for yourself, and where you're going. Having a vision for the future. Not a, it would be nice to, or I would like to. No, what is your vision for what will happen after you are doctor? Once you get very clear on that, you're going to be amazed at how fast you finish the dissertation. So I'm going to go because I need to go to the finish your dissertation call. I would like for you to comment stuck if you're on Instagram, or come to Instagram, the link in the bio. On the 18th, which is next Sunday, I'm going to coach you. It's going to be a workshop my way. I'm going to coach you in a sense of, we're going to get to the bottom of what's really blocking you from finishing your dissertation. What decisions do you need to make in order to graduate by May or December, or whatever your deadline is? And you're going to walk away with a 90-day plan. But beyond the plan, you're going to get coached. Coach means this conversation I've been having with you, but we're going to have it on the Zoom. It is a group call. I'm not going to just have you one-on-one and going hard on you. That's not my intention. My intention is, let's get to the bottom of the real thing so you can graduate. And I will bring this conversation back up. I want you to show up next Sunday with a very good reason, if not multiple, as to why you want to do this. Why do you want to be a doctor? And what is being a doctor going to do for you that you don't have right now? Because that's how you know how good your reason is. Okay, y'all. Let me know your comments in chat. I am going to go and we're going to do some weekly planning. And I want to say thank you for your time and attention today. And I will see you next Sunday.